So when we look at water, we want to be drinking, I say either three kinds of water: distilled water, reverse osmosis water, or maybe clean well water. So it really depends where you live, what kind of access you have. Bottled water is a farce, okay?
Is it really?
Because it
Tell me
really,
about that.
okay, so you have one person in the position in the government that manages the bottled water industry. Okay, so just one person doing that task, there's no way that they can be on top of everything. Number two, when water bottles travel from state to state, there's not really any kind of regulation that says there have to be the cap on the bottle. So they take that plastic that's sitting in the sun in the back of the truck to the plant to be filled. Okay, spring water in most states, and especially here, do we have healthy springs in Florida? Do we have mountains? Do we have rocks? No.
No.
So we have holes in the ground. We have sand. We have incredible amounts of building communities, and we have runoff, and we have a high rainy season and a low rainy season. So you can test the water, and the levels of contaminants might be less or more depending upon that time of year, but they are there, and those numbers will vacillate. So anybody, if they're a salesman, can play to that, to your advantage or disadvantage. But the bottom line is, the big scare with what was the lead in the water, and then
Yes.
Aaron Brockovich did the chromium 6.
Right.
Like,
1990s.
yeah, so this is really nothing new. It's just that the government and the municipalities got busted. Okay. So typically you want to be able to have your water chlorinated, right? Because that kills the bacteria. But you don't really want to be bathing and drinking in that. Okay. So when the municipalities and the aquifers when they're doing their job with a disinfectant, when it comes to your house, great. Once it's been cleaned, then once it's in your house, you don't have to drink it that way. So I recommend, filtration systems, the reverse osmosis, which goes under your sink. There's also alkaline water units that are tabletop units, which alkalize the water, which is great for the body, right? The problem is you still have to have a lot of contaminants in the water in order to alkalize the water, right? You don't alkalize reverse osmosis water already. You can put an alkaline module, which is much less expensive, on the RO machine, which means it's filtered twice, and then there's a membrane, and that micropore membrane will squeeze out these teeny microbial pieces, and those get flushed out through the cold water line back into the ground where it came from, and then you have a tank, and that will hold your clean water. Does that make sense?
My goodness, that was quite a mouthful. You you talked about reverse osmosis, but you were also talking about so was the distilling of the water included in that too?
Okay, so yes, thank you. So you can buy distilled water or you can distill it yourself. The
Okay.
distillation process takes quite some time. We did it down in Marathon Key, Florida. We built a distillation system, and it's out there in the sun even, or in your house, but it's like a drop at a time. So technology is faster with the reverse osmosis under the sink because that'll do it by itself. Like, the machine will do the work. You don't have to filter the water. The distiller is a slower process, and it's great. So those are the only two waters I recommend to people, because when I see them shopping and I see them buying bottled water and I see them buying Zephyr Hills or this or that or whatever, I'm like, that's got nitrates in it. It has nitrites in it. So it's got runoff. It's got poop in it. It has typically been maybe enhanced with minerals and calcium, where are those coming from? And then you also could have some bacteria in it, but typically not, because it's gone through at least a small process. The chlorine's taken out most of the time, but you really don't know what you're getting, and nobody tests their water at home. So people might like the way that it tastes, right? But that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that there's not other contaminants in it. So how about if I say like your filter in your refrigerator, okay? Most people think that they can just drink out of the fridge and they're fine,
Yes, and they're
okay?
fine.
And they're fine because the carbon inside that filter, which you pay on the higher end, $60 like every 3 months for one of those, if you have a newer refrigerator, and you don't know if your ice cubes are clean either. And then the water contact through that filter in your fridge um, hits it at a rate that there's not a lot of water coming out, right? So it is taking out about, quite a bit of the chlorine per glass of
Okay.
water.
Okay.
But when you take a shower, that little filter is not filtering your house. So you're still taking a shower with chlorinated water. And in addition to the chlorine, there's what we call chloramine in the water. So,
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? And listen, I am originally from Michigan. So the Flint water
oh,
crisis is very near and dear to my heart. And I know that a lot of people, including children, were negatively impacted by lead in their water. So does this reverse osmosis also help with that, with removal of lead?
yes.
Okay, that's very, very important. So we are going to be running out of time very soon here, Shari. I can't believe it, but
Ah,
I want to talk, I want to make sure that we are hearing from you about the solutions. So there are
yes.
a lot of things. You talked about shower, you talk about having a filtration system under your sink, and the water that we're getting from our refrigerator.
Hmm.
Um, and even cleaning with. So what give our
Okay.
audience again the breakdown of what you recommend that they do to be sure that they're drinking clean water.
Okay. So you can have the water tested. I test water. The company tests water for free. There's many, many companies out there. So the solution is it's two parts. You
Okay.
need something that will take care of your house water, okay? And that can go in the garage or outside. You see all kinds of tanks all over the place. In order to have your house water softened, the chlorine taken out, the chloramine taken out, the heavy metals taken out, the nitrates, all of those pieces taken out of the water so you can bathe and wash your clothes in it is an easy install. Okay. What's inside the tank is what matters. And our company takes all of that out. Now, part two is that's not necessarily drinking water because if we test for something else in the water, okay, let's call it a
Mm-hmm.
TDS, total dissolved solids, that's where you need the reverse osmosis because there are some small particles that pass through the media inside the tank. And that's just how it is until technology makes one unit. It's just not there yet. So you need the filtration under the sink and the whole house system. And people get confused. So it's not a reverse osmosis for the whole house unless you
Okay.
have a well system. So well water and city water require different media inside the tank outside, but they can both use a reverse osmosis underneath the sink. And so there's other pieces to it and which kind you need depending upon how if your water's slow or how high the TDS. But it's a very simple solution so you're not having to filtrate that water. So does that make sense?
It does. It does. And so the bottom line is that we need to get rid of the waterborne pathogens and all of
Yes.
the negative bacteria that
Contaminants.
could exhibit the contaminants that exist
Right.
in our water. So we are just about out of time, Shari. Thank you so much for being a guest on here today. Lots of wonderful information. So again, people can find you at Rawsome Living LLC at Weebly.com
Yes.
or
And
aquapure.biz.
right, that's the company and I work with another company as well that they do a little bit different pieces of equipment that I'm happy to share with people as well, because we want to just get the solution that works for the person, right? That's my goal. That's my aim. Unfortunately, the water is what it is, but we have to make a choice to take care of our health.
Absolutely. Well, you heard it here, folks. Thanks again for tuning in to Write Your Plan Radio. Thanks again to our special guest today. And thank you to all of our sponsors. Shari, I look forward to seeing you again. I'm sure that you and I will run into each other again as we are running around here doing our thing in Florida.
Oh, thank you so very much. I appreciate the time, and I'm so happy you're doing what you're doing to inspire and help all of us.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.